This video is an introduction to decimal numbers. A decimal number is a number that is less than one whole or a fraction or a part of a number. So when we look at a decimal, we are very familiar with whole numbers, tens, ones, and so on. But after the decimal, it's part of the next number. So we look at it, there's tenths, there's hundreds, and there's thousandths. This diagram shows how we can represent our numbers by drawing them. So again, here's our whole number, 17. In this case, we have 48 hundredths. So we have 4 tenths and 8 hundredths. Alternatively, you could also color in 48 hundredths, but that's a lot more drawing. So what this is meant to show us is that it's not a whole number. It's part of the next whole. So this is a place value chart, which we're all familiar with, especially the whole numbers. But today we're going to focus on what comes after this decimal point. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths. When we look at decimal numbers, let's add a number in here. So in this case, we have 1 and 34 hundredths. When we read a decimal number, we read the number, so in this case 34, and then we add whatever place value it ends in. So 1 and 34 hundredths, we read the decimals and add. When we look at this, we have 3 tenths. So it's as if we broke the number up into 10 parts, and we have 3 of them, and then 4 hundredths. This is really easy when we just have hundreds to compare it to money. So we have $1.34. 34 parts of a dollar, 3 dimes, 4 pennies. It's a little bit harder with thousands because it doesn't relate to our money, but with hundreds, that's kind of the easiest way to think of it. So if we look at this number, we have 7 and 481 thousandths. So we have 4 tenths, 8 hundredths, 1 thousandth. And in this case, because there's no whole number, we just read this as 86 hundredths. And if we look at this again in terms of money, 86 cents. So we're going to start by comparing some decimal numbers to see which one is greater. So we have 8 and 99 thousandths, 8 and 99 hundredths. We can kind of ignore this 0 because it doesn't mean anything. It's not like with a whole number. There's 0 thousandths, so we don't have to read it. So when we want to compare our decimal numbers, we start by looking at our tenths because tenths are the biggest decimal. So in this case, let's look at those tenths. We have 0 tenths here and 9 tenths here. So it should be pretty evident that 8 and 99 hundredths is actually greater than 8 and 99 thousandths. Let's try another example. So which decimal number is greater? 10 and 400 thousandths or 4 tenths? 10 and 4 thousandths. So again, we start by looking at our, that came faster than I thought it would, so we start by looking at our tenths. So in this case, we have 4 tenths and 0 tenths. So this one is going to be larger. And so that is just a quick introduction to decimal numbers. Again, we read them, the and is a decimal, and then we read the whole number after and finish it with the place value position. And when comparing decimals, tenths are greater than hundredths, which are greater than thousandths. And so hopefully this will give you a quick introduction to decimals to help you do your work.